Something about that exchange landed differently the second it left Bradley Walsh's mouth. It wasn't loud. It wasn't prolonged. Yet you could almost feel the studio air tighten for a beat, as if every camera operator and floor manager suddenly leaned in without realizing it. Darragh Ennis, still settled in the chaser's chair after losing a head-to-head, had offered a quiet observation that many professionals might make after a close contest. He suggested he could have caught the player if given another chance. Bradley's reply came sharp and protective: "You couldn't have. How very dare you?" In that moment the familiar rhythm of the chase shifted. The show thrives on banter, on the easy sparring between host and chasers, on the gentle ribbing that keeps the atmosphere light while the prize money hangs in the balance. Yet here was Bradley stepping firmly into the role of defender, not of the format, but of the ordinary contestant who had just done something remarkable. Emma had brought £5,000 back to her team. She had faced one of the sharpest minds on British daytime television and held her ground. And when the professional quizzer allowed even a flicker of hindsight to surface, the host shut it down with theatrical indignation that somehow still felt genuine. Viewers who watch these programs regularly often talk about the chemistry that develops over years of filming. Bradley has been the constant presence since the beginning, the warm, slightly mischievous ringmaster who can pivot from joke to encouragement in a single breath. Darragh, the relative newcomer at the time known as the Menace, was still finding his place among the established chasers. What many people watching at home seemed to notice was how quickly Bradley moved to protect the amateur's achievement. It almost felt as though the host was reminding everyone in the room, and everyone at home, that the contestants are the reason the show exists. Their courage, their nerves, their occasional brilliance against seasoned professionals is what keeps audiences returning. There is something revealing in the body language of that exchange. Darragh sat with a small smile, the kind that suggests he recognized the joke inside the scolding. Bradley's delivery carried just enough theatrical weight to make the line land without turning sour. It was not a genuine dressing down. It was a performance of loyalty, delivered with the timing of someone who understands television instincts at a deep level. Yet the emotion underneath felt real. Many viewers online later described the same sensation, a sudden warmth toward the host for refusing to let the player's success be even mildly diminished. These small moments matter more than they should. In an era when so much television feels polished and pre-planned, an unscripted flicker of protectiveness can cut through. It reminds people that the people on screen still react like people. Bradley could have laughed it off or moved straight on. Instead, he chose to elevate the contestant's performance, even if only for a few seconds. That choice seemed to change the atmosphere in the studio. The remaining players, waiting for their own turns, must have felt it. The audience at home certainly did. Some later said they found themselves rooting harder for the team simply because the host had made such a clear stand. There is also something quietly revealing about the relationship between host and chaser in that exchange. The banter on the chase is carefully balanced. Too much deference and the tension disappears. Too much edge and the show risks becoming uncomfortable. Bradley's "How dare you" walked that line with precision. It acknowledged Darragh's skill while refusing to let skill rewrite the result that had just played out. In doing so, it underlined a truth many regular viewers hold dear. On this program, the ordinary person can, and sometimes does, win the day. Looking back, the moment feels like one of those television details that linger longer than the final score. It was not dramatic in the conventional sense. No voices were raised beyond the familiar theatrical pitch. No one stormed off. Yet something about the exchange stayed with people. It spoke to the quiet satisfaction of watching a professional refuse to diminish an amateur's hard-won success. It hinted at the respect that still exists, even in the competitive heat of a quiz show, for the person who steps into the studio with far less experience and still manages to hold their own. Perhaps that is why the clip continues to surface in conversations years later. Not because it was scandalous or shocking, but because it felt human. Bradley Walsh, for a few seconds, sounded less like a host managing the flow of a program and more like someone who simply could not allow a good performance to be talked down. And Darragh, smiling in the chair, seemed to understand exactly what was happening. Moments like these are why so many people keep returning to the chase. Not only for the questions or the prize money, but for the unexpected flashes of personality that remind us the people on screen still care about the people sitting opposite them. In the end, what stayed with many viewers was not the result of that particular head-to-head, but the instinctive defense of someone who had earned her place on the team. What did you notice when you first saw it? Did the exchange land the same way for you, or did you read something different in Bradley's tone?